All right, let's jump right in. We're tackling a massive question today, one that has been hanging over humanity for, well, forever. Why do religious wars just never seem to end? We're going to explore a source that offers a really unconventional answer, one that says the problem isn't in our heavens, but in the stories we tell right here on Earth.
I mean, really, why does this keep happening? You look back through history, from the ancient Crusades all the way to conflicts we see today, and this battle over who's right about God, it feels like it's just a permanent part of the human story. But is it really about God? Or is there something else entirely going on underneath it all?
So, the source we're diving into today puts forward this pretty mind-bending idea. The real root of all this conflict isn't some divine command. Nope, it's something much, much closer to home. It's the stories we tell ourselves about who we are, and more importantly, who we aren't. Okay, so if stories are the problem, how does that even work? How can a simple story create these cycles of violence that last for centuries? Let's get into the source's diagnosis of what's really going on. Here's the core argument, and it's a big one. This text claims these have never really been wars of God. Instead, it calls them wars of story, conflicts that are fueled by very specific narratives designed for one purpose: to divide us. To explain this, the source gives us this really powerful concept called tribal software. Think of it like an ancient operating system that's been running in the background of human civilization for thousands of years. It's a collection of stories passed down generation after generation, all built on a foundation of fear and survival. And its main function? To draw a very, very clear line between us and them. And this idea just reframes the entire issue, doesn't it? A voice from the source text, identified as the Pleiadians, explains that the problem isn't some deep, fatal flaw in human nature. It's more like a collective amnesia. We've just forgotten that the us and the them are all actually part of the same cosmic family. So the source draws this incredibly sharp line in the sand. On one side, you have the way we usually see it, a holy war, a divine conflict fought for God. But on the other side is the argument this text makes, that it's actually a war fought using the idea of God as a tool, where sacred texts are twisted into war drums and well-meaning believers become pawns manipulated by power structures. Here is just a fantastic metaphor from another voice in the text, the Arcturian Council. Imagine that ultimate truth is a single beam of pure white light. Each religion is like a beautiful prism that this light shines through, creating a whole spectrum of amazing colors. The problem, they say, is that humans grab their one color, insist that it's the only real light, and then go to war with everyone else holding a different piece of the rainbow. So, if the problem is being stuck on just one color, what's the alternative? Well, the text suggests we need to completely shift our perspective. We need to zoom out to what it calls a cosmic perspective, one that lets us see the whole spectrum and move beyond division. You know, this gets at a huge mistake we often make. We hear the word unity, and we immediately think it means sameness, that everyone has to believe the same thing, look the same, act the same. But according to a group the text calls the Andromedan Council, that's not it at all. Real unity isn't about erasing our unique cultures and identities. It's about finding a way to make them harmonize. And I just love this analogy from the Mantid Overseers. It's perfect. An army demands uniformity. Everyone marches in lockstep. But an orchestra, its power, its beauty, comes from its diversity. The violin is not the cello, and the cello is not the trumpet. It's the unique sound of each distinct instrument playing together that creates this incredible, complex harmony. And that's really the key takeaway here. The goal isn't sameness. It's not about becoming one monotone note. It's about creating a symphony, something far richer and more beautiful than any single instrument could ever produce on its own. Now, that all sounds like a beautiful philosophy, doesn't it? But how do we actually get there? How do we make that happen? This next section explores the source's practical path forward, a way to move beyond the dogmas and myths that keep us divided. Through a voice named Hatton really breaks down the psychological engine that drives all of this control. It argues that it all starts with a very basic human emotion, fear. And what does fear hate more than anything? Uncertainty. It craves simple black and white answers. And dogma, well, dogma provides that certainty, even if it's a false one. This dynamic is then exploited, turning a personal feeling of fear into a massive system of societal control. So how do you dismantle a system like that? According to the source, it's an inside job. It doesn't start with protests or revolutions. It starts with the individual.
It starts by conquering our own inner fear, because when we do that, we stop feeding the system its power. Then, by choosing curiosity over blind belief, by actively practicing empathy to feel our connection to others, and by demanding transparency, we basically starve that control structure of the fuel it needs to survive.
But what about all of our cherished cultures and traditions? Do we have to just throw them all away? Well, according to a voice called Seth, not at all. We don't need to discard them. We just need to reframe how we see them. Think of your tradition as a beautiful play. You can love the costumes, you can memorize the lines, you can deeply enjoy the performance, all while understanding that it is a play, not the only play in town. And this path of inner work and new perspectives leads us to the final section. This is where the source paints a picture of what our spirituality could even look like once we move beyond these ancient conflicts. A future based not on division, but on resonance.
So what does this new spirituality look like? Well, for one, it's something that returns to the body, not just something we think about in the sky. It's based on this idea of resonance and frequency, the concept that we're all fundamentally energy, and we connect not through shared beliefs, but by attuning ourselves to harmonious frequencies like love and compassion. This means you directly participate. You're not just a follower in a hierarchy. And it flourishes not in secret doctrines, but in total radical transparency. And one of the source's central voices, known simply as Ra, boils this entire cosmic philosophy down to this one powerful, simple, and direct call to action. It's a fundamental choice of frequency, a choice between the frequency of fear and the frequency of love. And apparently, the consequences of that choice are galactic. And so, this entire exploration leaves us with this final, massive challenge to think about. If this text is right, if our stories have literally been the software programming us for war for millennia, then it also means we hold the power to change the program. The question is no longer just for them out there. It's for us, right here. What new stories are we ready to start writing together?